I've been obsessed with oranges for a while because, in the historical sense, they have been a very easy telltale sign of who has cash. When there's a bowl of oranges left out, the reason it is left out is to tell you with your eyeballs and not with someone's words that you are in a wealthy home, that you are in a cashed place. Now, in the painting space, that information also carried over. If you saw an orange in somebody's painting, the same as the candle blown out is Jesus or something, the orange also carries that same immediate one-to-one, where if you see the orange, you know that the home you were looking at, or the people that are in that home, generally the family that would commission said painting, is a wealthy family. You were looking at a wealthy circumstance, right? Now, the painters also, within that, had a use for the oranges outside of the depiction of wealth in these homes. The orange for the human making said painted object was a business card of sorts, right? Because a trillion years ago, there wasn't that much stuff to paint. There's only 4 or 5 paintings you could make. So how do you know if anybody's good? You can't tell. It's all the same stuff. One way that you can tell is by looking at somebody's painting of oranges. How do they render what is otherwise a circle of a singular color and make it into something more than the sum of its circular parts? Do they add the little dots in the pits? Do they add a drop of water that reflects out and you can see other parts of the room in the drop of water? The fly sitting on the orange was a big classic in relation to putting time into the oft untimed space of painting. If I can take some of the history of this object and move it into another form of itself, into another space, this form factor being the neon orange that we are dealing with here in Miss Keisha's For Dinner, These Niggas Got Money, into this sharing space, anybody that is in the proximity of this neon object will be touched by its light to some degree, sharing that history with said person, and then said person sharing that space also now becomes the wealthy person in question, right? They now are in possession of a bowl of oranges. A painting is a sculpture that is meant to be seen from one angle and tends to ignore the person standing in front of it. It is a sculpture that does not play by the rules of sculpture. Sculpture, when you enter the space that the sculpture is in, you walk around it left to right in a circle, you stare at it from up to down, and based on how you engage with it, what your body is doing, and what the physical object is, the average of those two things is what your experience is of the sculpture moving forward. With most painted spaces, you walk in front of the painting, it ignores you, it stares off wherever it's staring, you stand there, you take in whatever it has to offer, and then you move about your way, with the resulting experience being what is happening inside of the object and not with the object itself. Now, I get ignored enough when I walk into spaces or when I walk in front of other things, so I attempt, when making things within the painted space, to not make objects that ignore you, but that say the same as sculpture. Hey, thanks for stopping by. This is not complete until you showed up. So thanks for showing up. Now, in this case, the case of Miss Keisha's For Dinner, These Niggas Got Money, number 5, when you step in front of this space, you are able to partake in this history of the orange, of the black person now being the moneyed person, because purple, green, and blue in the cartoon space, the American cartoon space, is the coded language used for Black people. And since neon isn't something that was meant to render humans, right? There is no black neon. There is no black gas that goes into these tubes. It's made for advertising and for collapsing the largest amount of people into the same space, which is also the reason why they never put traditionally colored Black and brown folk in cartoons, because they wanted to appeal to the widest amount of people as possible to make sure that as many people engaged with that message as possible. And when that happens, when people are looking to quote unquote engage or include, the first person that is normally left out is the Black person, is the brown person, is the person that is not whom the wealthy belle will most often toll for, which in this space, the intention is towards the white person. And hopefully, with this offering, we can widen that conversation just a small amount. And when whomever steps in front of and is colored by the lights from Miss Keisha's for Dinner, These Niggas Got Money, number 5, for that time at least, they can be wealthy as well.